Well, good afternoon, people, and it's turned out a lovely one as well. I've had a horrible couple of days, to be honest, but it's really nice. But either way, it's man cave time again, and what are we on? 1, 2, 3, episode 4, I think it is, isn't it? And this time, this is the run up through Eriskay, the Uists, if you like, South Uist, Benbecular, North Uist and Berneray. Now this is the biggest distance, road distance, but the run up through the run up through the Uists, it wasn't going to be desperately interesting in any case, but it certainly wasn't going to be interesting for me because I was really suffering with this, with a horrible cold. And to be honest with you, I just couldn't find it in myself to go off the road. I just needed to get to my next overnight, really. But I just made it as interesting as I can anyway. So either way, so we kicked off from Barra over to Eriskay. Enough of a story about Eriskay. I'll cover that in the video anyway. Just small island Eriskay. Then over onto South Uist, up through, as I say, Benbecular, North Uist, and finishing up on Berneray, and my overnight accommodation there, which was not a cabin, a bunkhouse. It was a bunkhouse, very nice as well. Either way, I'll show on the map. So that's where we kicked off from. Was from Outer Jetty on Barra. Now the line shows a ferry over to South Uist, but in actual fact the new ferry, the latest ferry, comes into Eriskay. Eriskay, had a good look around the village, visited the pub, the Am Politician, and then over what is now a causeway. Replaces the ferry service, has done for some years now, and then follow the road up through South Uist. Right, there was another causeway there that caught me out a little bit, and then causeway there over to Benbecular, the middle island, and then another causeway from Benbecular over to North Uist, and I could have spent a lot more time had I felt well enough, and I just went direct route effectively and up to over the causeway and onto Berneray, where I had my overnight in a bunkhouse on Berneray, just there. So it's hang on while I sit down. Brought back some memories because, as I've said, with those smaller islands in the Western Isles, I have visited them, but during sailing trips, and one or two people have latched onto this this part of my life. This involves, it was about 5 years in actual fact, and the first time I went across, there was a group of us used to charter a skippered boat. The boat was absolutely beautiful. It was 1934 converted Danish trawler, converted to sail. Ada Fransen, EDAFRANDSEN, Ada Fransen. Ada Fransen Sailing, the company was called. It's moved elsewhere now. They were based just around the corner from Malig, on Noidart, and I think we did 3, maybe 4 trips, and it was not cheap, but it was a fantastic experience. This beautiful old wooden sailing vessel, and it was 75 feet long, and there should be some photos somewhere knocking about on this little introduction, and maybe 1 or 2 part way through the video as well, just to give you some idea of just what a beautiful vessel this was. It got me into sailing to a certain extent, and I ended up buying my own dinghy, my own sailing dinghy. It's a Wanderer. For anybody who's in the know about sailing, it's a Wanderer, which is a smaller version of the Wayfarer. I kept it up there at Gairloch on the west coast for a few seasons, but shall we say it went its course, and I sold the dinghy on. I didn't make a loss on it, and I went back to my kayaking and walking. But that was my sailing experiences anyway. So yes, anyway, back to this one in hand. Yes, I'll show you the map. We went up through the Uists up to Berneray. Lovely little bunkhouse on Berneray. But to be honest, I just wasn't feeling it. I just wasn't feeling the enthusiasm for it, in spite of where I was. The weather was fantastic, the views were brilliant, but I just needed to get my head down. My cold was getting worse, and man flu, if you like, whatever, but either way, it wasn't pleasant. So yeah, see what you think. It's like I say, it's a run up through the Uists. I've included one or two little bits, but nothing much, because I just wasn't up to it. I've got to go back. It's as simple as that. Anyway, have a look through and see what you think. All right. Cheers.
Good morning. Good morning, people. This is us about to leave Barra, heading for Eriskay. Just coming down to the ferry terminal here at Barra. We're probably about an hour early for the ferry, but that's no bad thing. So we crossed to Eriskay and then across the causeway to South Uist, up through Benbecular during today, and across North Uist to our overnight accommodation at the top end of North Uist, just right next to the ferry terminal, to take us across tomorrow morning, early doors, to Harris. So it's busy, and here we are. So I'll park up, I'll book in and see which lane I've got to go in. No matter which lane I go in, it'll be the wrong one. So I'll see you later. Cheers. That's us then. All aboard that's going aboard. Eriskay bound. That's us done and dusted. And we're back. That's us arrived on Eriskay. Only a very small island is Eriskay. We just cross Eriskay, then over the causeway to South Uist. So we'll get away from the ferry, and I'll pull in to regroup. We'll have a look at the Politician pub on the way through. A little story to tell, as you can well imagine, but just, oh, look at that beach, another one. These beaches are absolutely stunning here. Yes, Eriskay was the scene of, in 1941 it was, a ship used to participate in the Atlantic convoys to a certain extent, but the ship, the SS Politician, was carrying amongst its cargo were 22,000 bottles of whiskey, and ran aground in stormy weather and effectively sank. The locals knew all about the whiskey, heard about the whiskey. It was export only, so there was no duty paid. It was going across to America. But these guys didn't bother about that. They just wanted the whiskey. Being wartime, whiskey was in short supply, so they found their way across to the wreck and liberated quite a lot of bottles of whiskey from the wreck. Some were caught, some went to prison, but suffice to say, it made the news. And it also made the films, made the silver screen, because those that have seen Whisky Galore will know the story I'm telling. I think in the film the ship was called the SS Cabinet Minister, but in the real story it was the SS Politician, and it really happened here on the shores of Eriskay. I landed on Eriskay on a sailing trip on the east coast, walked across to the west coast, went in the pub, the SS Politician, the Am Politician I think it's called, the pub, and in a glass case at the side of the bar was a bottle of whiskey from the Politician. And I was looking at I was looking at it, just admiring it. I took a photograph of it, I think. Yeah. I wouldn't get too excited. It's pish. In other words, it's not very good quality whiskey, but either way, that was the Politician pub. Well, I'm going to pull in here and regroup, so I'll switch off for now, and I'll see you shortly. I know. Stop calling me shortly. And we're back. I've come up with a sort of a plan. Just have a little nosy around Eriskay. This is the pub, the Am Politician. So I'm going for a coffee. And we'll see if the wee bottle's still inside. Not the wee bottle, but the wee... Never mind, okay. Speak to you in a bit. So these are the goodies that have been kept off the SS Politician. 3 bottles, 2 empty. 1 still got very dubious looking liquid in it. The little one, brown one was the one that was behind the glass case. Machete, goodness me, machete. Flare pistol. And Jamaican money. There's a lot of Jamaican money on board apparently. And they've been good enough to lay these out for me to have a look at them. That's great girls, yeah. Marvellous. And we're back. That, quite frankly, was amazing. I only wanted to pass by the pub really, but I thought, well, we'll see if we can get a sandwich. So when I was talking to the young girl who runs the place, or appears to run the place, and she fetched the little curios from the Politician, laid them out for me. I got photographs, so you should see them. And I was talking about my last trip here when I came in a sailing boat. I thought it was about 18 years ago. She went and fetched the visitor's book, and the trip is in there. We were here 23rd of May 2005, so it's nearly 20 years ago. Absolutely amazing. So there used to be a little ferry crossing as well, just here from Eriskay to South Uist in front of us, but now, along with so many others, so Crested Grebes I think there. I don't know if you can see the colour of the water, it's so clear and shallow. These causeways have been built between replacing the shorter crossings. Makes life so much easier for the islanders, to be honest. Sadly, I've not given myself enough time to properly explore the Uist and Benbecular, because I sort of got my ferry timings wrong. Poor planning on my part, really. I honestly thought that with the shorter crossings across here, I could just turn up and get on, but they're so popular now that you have to book in advance, and the crossing I wanted to make had been booked up solid, so I've had to spend more time on Barra. But having said that, having looked around Barra, I'm so glad I did. Fascinating island is Barra. But either way, this puts us on South Uist now. Now the chain from here goes it goes South Uist, then Benbecular in between, and then North Uist. And tomorrow morning's crossing is 7:30 in the morning from Berneray across to Harris. So I booked myself in a bunkhouse at Berneray, which is only a couple of doors away from the ferry terminal. So my job today is to just to ride north and get up to Berneray ready for tomorrow morning. But there's going to be points of interest on the main road on the way through, so I'll probably switch off in just a short while once we've oh, look at the views though. Looking back out towards Barra, out to the left of us there, that's the way we came in on the ferry just a short while ago. I'll just keep the camera running whilst we got this coastline so close to us. Now, in all sorts of walks of life, whether it be coach driving, making YouTube videos for that matter, we're always advised to avoid certain subjects. The two main subjects to avoid are politics and religion. Politics, yes, because once I get started on politics, just at this moment in time, I wouldn't know when to stop. So enough of that. But religion, you cannot come to the Western Isles, to the Outer Hebrides, and not discuss religion, because it is so complex out here. In this sort of southern half of the Hebridean chain, and we're going to see this southern half is predominantly, not totally, but predominantly Roman Catholic. But you get past South Uist effectively, and you pass the statue of Our Lady at the top end of South Uist, and it changes. The predominant faith then becomes the Presbyterian faith. Not only the Presbyterian faith, because the Presbyterian faith was separated many, many years ago, and across here, the most powerful church across here in the north of the islands is the Free Church of Scotland. It's referred to on the mainland in a great many areas as the Wee Free. Sort of make fun of it really, but across here it is a powerful movement, and as we get further north I'll explain just why the Free Church of Scotland is so powerful. But that's for in a short while. Right, I'll switch the camera off now and I'll see you shortly, a little bit further north. Now it looks as if there's still a military presence across here, looking at the golf balls and radar equipment up there. There's been a military presence here since the end of the Second World War, certainly the end of the Second World War, and even more so during the Cold War. This equipment's obviously keeping a watching brief. And there's, with all the equipment up there, there will be that military presence still there. So, oh, and I see, yes, I can see what I was looking for as well. Just up on the right, I'm going to see if I can get up to it. This statue up here marks the well, the start of the Roman Catholic, predominantly Roman Catholic area as you come south, but as we go north it sort of marks the start of, or the end of, the Roman Catholic area, and Presbyterianism is the strongest faith beyond here further north. Our Lady of the Isles is this this statue. I'm not Roman Catholic. Domestic management is Roman Catholic, although somewhat lapsed at the minute. I'm not desperately religious at all, to be honest, but we are of a mixed marriage. So that's impressive statue, but that's Our Lady of the Isles. As I say, it's planted here because from here southwards is predominantly Roman Catholic territory. At least coming up here it gives us a lovely view of the Atlantic in the distance. I have visited South Uist in the past, walked across from the east coast on one of my sailing trips. We dropped anchor on the east coast and walked across here for one reason or another. That's all I've seen. And this actually gives me a chance to talk about passing place system. Works very well across here because there isn't so much tourism. You see the passing places, you're duty bound really. Opposing traffic, whoever gets the passing place first is duty bound to stop and let the other guy come past. On top of that, we're duty bound, well, we're duty bound to keep our eye on the mirrors anyway, but we keep our eye on the mirrors, and if we're driving slowly, taking it steady, or riding slowly, and somebody moving more quickly comes up behind us, then we're duty bound to pull over into a passing place and let them come past and go about the business. And it works. It works very much, more so than on the mainland, because on the mainland there's so many tourists coming these days, and so many of them just don't understand the passing place system, even though the signs are there explaining how to use it, or maybe they just choose not to understand the passing place system, which I think is a strong possibility. But now we've got the causeway that connects South Uist with the intermediate island of Benbecular. But it's not that big of an island, so what I'll do is I've got nothing really to describe on the way across here, so I'll switch off for now and I'll switch back on again before we cross over to North Uist. Oh, there we go. So that's Benbecular done and dusted. That's the next of our causeways out of the way. So we've arrived on Benbecular now. I thought we were already there. Now we're coming towards the causeway between Benbecular and North Uist, I am fairly sure. Of course, all this road is all part of the Hebridean Way. There's precious little in the way of footpaths for people to follow, but it's about cyclists as well. Certainly wasn't created with motor traffic in mind, was the Hebridean Way. Thank you, kind sir. You tend to find that obviously people acknowledge each other for having given way, but something I got used to, whoa, distillery, that's one I didn't know about. Benbecular distillery. Yeah, you tend to find that people just acknowledge each other anyway, because whether they're giving way to you or not, the chances are they're going to give way to you, or they have given way to you in the past. So it's one of those situations, you know. Just give us a wave. Now this is a causeway, but is it the causeway between Benbecular and North Uist? I feel it will be. Welcome to North Uist. Yes, there we are. So now we have to cross North Uist and then over to Berneray, the small island that the ferry actually departs from tomorrow morning. So that's us on North Uist now. And it is indeed all very much of a muchness across here, so I'll switch the camera off again and I'll see you in a wee while. Well, we're well and truly ensconced on North Uist now, and I've got a horrible feeling that the camera's not been recording because it's slipped into photo mode. Probably through my clumsiness, but I'm catching signs of another little aspect of Hebridean life that shouldn't go unmentioned. Every now and again we see plastic bags apparently abandoned on the moor. No, these are plastic bags that have yet to be harvested. It's peat. How long it's going to work for, I really don't know. Because at the end of the day, peat is not exactly renewable energy. It takes so many centuries for the peat to create the burnable quality that it is. But the way it works out here is that everybody, all the residents of these islands, they're each allocated an area of peat moorland to harvest the fuel from, because this is their winter fuel. But they come out here and you can see the peat cut in straight lines in places, and this is where the peat it's first of all it's dug up in blocks, then it's laid out to dry, then it's harvested. And over to the left there you've got a load of peat in bags protected by wooden pallets, and this is all winter fuel for the residents of the islands. But like I say, they're coming under more and more pressure to abandon the peat digging because it is not exactly renewable energy, and they have to be seen to be doing the right thing. But these people who lived out here, these people whose families lived out here for generations, it's going to be a big change. It's going to be a big change to their lifestyle, and understandably they're pulling against it. We're coming down to Loch Maddie, and this is where one of the ferries comes into from Uig on Skye. Yeah, so if we were to carry on round to the right, that'd take us down to the ferry for Skye. We don't go there yet, so we're going to go up here, and this will take us to Berneray, and eventually tomorrow morning the ferry across to Harris. There are plastic bags full of peat that have been harvested across there in that garden. Right, I'll switch off again now for a while. Look at this view. Coming down towards the causeway across to Berneray. Well, the microphone's still working, so just in case it gives up the ghost, I'll thank you for watching, sticking with me through this one, from Barra across to South Uist, through Benbecular and North Uist, and hopefully getting as far as Berneray. I'll see you tomorrow as we go across to Harris. Lovely view out across the straits. More fantastic beaches. Oh, just look at that. Just look at that. Stunningly beautiful. Stunningly beautiful. So I think that's the causeway to Berneray. Yes, we're on Berneray. Marvellous. And we're looking for John's bunkhouse. What a place to arrive at. Absolutely beautiful. I think this must be it. There we are. Well, thanks for sticking with me. I hope the microphone's still working, and I'll charge it up tonight. Okay, cheers.